Welcome to the Teacup Brigade. It's me, Bassy, and here is part 2 of my June-July wrap-up. In total, I've already discussed 5 of the 13 books I've read during the last 2 months, so I'm going to start with book 6. Book 6 was The Address by Fiona Davis. I was recommended this book by my mom. She really loved this book and she told me to check it out. This book is a historical fiction that switches between 2 narratives. One narrative is from the perspective of a female hotel manager in the 1880s, and the second perspective is from a disgraced architect in the 1980s. This book, for the most part, is located around a famous apartment building, being the Dakota. Now, the Dakota is a real place. I thought it was just a fictional place made up for this book, but it is a real apartment in New York City. It's actually the apartment building that John Lennon was murdered in. That is not what this book is about. It does mention it, but for some reason, not about that. For the most part, I did not enjoy this book. There wasn't much character development and there wasn't much personality in the characters. The plot was trash. There's a part where one of the characters is in an asylum in the 1880s, and it takes up about 40 pages and is the most boring part of the book. How do you have it that a character goes to the asylum and that is the most boring part of the book? Like, that would have been an easy nightmare you could have written, but it was so boring. I ended up giving it a 2 out of 5 stars, and I really only gave it an extra star because my mom liked it, because that's how the stars work. My next 2 books, actually, I've been saying that I've read 13 books the last 2 months. Too much? I've actually been reading 15 because I forgot to count these 2 as 2 books. Well, they were both graphic novels, so whatever. The 2 graphic novels I read were My Hero Academia Volume 1 and then Volume 2 by Kohei Horikoshi. I hope I pronounced that right. I love this manga so much. I talked about it a little bit in some of my other videos, and I love My Hero so much. So, My Hero Academia is about our main character, Izuki Midoriya, who lives in this world where 80% of all people have superpowers, and unfortunately he is a part of the 20% of people who don't have superpowers. They talk a little bit about his childhood and how when he's growing up he sees all his other friends start to get superpowers and he's just not, and his biggest goal is to become a superhero, but then he just doesn't get it. He doesn't get any kind of superpower. He doesn't even get a bad superpower. In Japan, and correct me if I'm wrong, what I gather from Japanese culture from this superhero manga is that you have to apply to get into high school. So when you're in middle school, you apply to get into a good high school. And so Midoriya, without any superpowers, is applying to get into this prestigious superhero high school. Before I go on, the superpowers are called quirks, which is cool. I thought that was a cool way to talk about superpowers. Midoriya doesn't have a quirk at all, but he does spend his time studying quirks, like which quirks work well with each other. Pretty much the most productive thing you can do as you aren't getting the thing that you want. And this whole time, he just has like this stupid hope that he will get a superpower. And it's just so sweet, and you were really rooting for him. He's a really lovable character. He's like the most Hufflepuff of all the Hufflepuffs that have ever puffed. So as he is applying to this superhero high school, he meets one of the most popular and powerful superheroes in the land, pretty much. And after this meeting, Midoriya finally gets a quirk and gets into the high school of his dreams. I love this series. I am already caught up in the anime that is available. The next season, season 4, is coming out in October, and I'm so excited. Basically, I love My Hero Academia. It's the best. The end. 5 out of 5 would recommend. Love that series. Moving on to the next book, before I just make this a My Hero Academia video, the next book that I read was White Rose, Black Forest by Eoin Dempsey. This book is a 1940s historical fiction of a German woman who decides to commit suicide by going into the Black Forest. However, on the night that she goes into the Black Forest, she comes upon this body of a soldier who has jumped from a parachute, and he is still alive but unconscious. She cannot, in good conscience, leave this world without making sure that this guy is okay. Now, this was another recommend from my mom, and I thought I would love this book. When I heard pretty much what this book was about, I was so excited. I thought I was gonna just really get into it. I love historical fiction, but it just kind of fell flat for me in a lot of ways. I didn't like the characters. I didn't feel like they were believable. And if you're not gonna have in-depth characters, that's fine, but that means you need to have a really good plot. And this book didn't have a good plot. Everything is basically all tell and no show. The romance is very lackluster. The bad guy is like cartoonishly evil. And I get it, it's a Nazi. He's a legitimately evil person. This is coming after reading My Hero Academia. Like, this is more cartoonishly evil than My Hero Academia, and that's a cartoon. I just didn't feel like the characters, when they were talking about their wants and their desires and their hatreds or whatever, it just kind of felt like bleh. It just felt like bleh. The writing was also not very good. Very much at all. There would be these huge info dumps that were not subtly disguised as the main character's recollection of how Germany has fallen into the state that it is in the 1940s. It feels very much like the author went to a textbook, pretty much copied and pasted, and then did a little of editing to make it sound like it was someone saying, oh, I remember it like this happening. And then there are 2 different characters who refer to Germany as a bastion of art and science. And they use that exact wording, bastion of art and science. And I might be wrong, it might be industry and science, but either way, that sounds very much like a textbook talking about Germany in that time. It just wasn't for me. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars again because my mom liked it. It would have been a 1, but that's how I do my stars. My mom likes it, so it automatically gets a star. But it was so bad. I was hoping to make this a 2-part video, but this is looking like a 3-part video. I still have 6 more books to discuss. I think if I've done the math correctly, I probably haven't. Yeah, I hate making super long videos. 10 minutes is way too much for me. We're gonna cut it here. Thank you for watching. Bye.